When I was a planning consultant in Portland, Oregon, I knew a lot of people who would fly up to Seattle when they had business up there. It never made intuitive sense to me. The two cities are about 150 miles apart as the crow flies. There's just no way flying makes sense. But I recently had the opportunity to see for myself, so today we're going to go from downtown Portland to downtown Seattle by air, and we're going to return by passenger rail. We're going to take a close look at every element of the trip. And we're going to answer the question, which one is really better, going by train or going by plane? Now, I have flown between Seattle and Portland before, but only because I'm an Alaska Airlines guy, and for certain trips, you do have to connect through Seattle. Normally, if I'm traveling between the two cities, I take Amtrak Cascades, and I actually would have done that both directions on this most recent trip, but I was going up the day Seattle was hosting the USA-Belgium World Cup Round of 16 match. Long story that I'll address later in the video. All the trains were sold out, but the planes weren't. And I always wondered, do the people who choose to fly between cities that are 150 miles apart actually have a point? So I've got a departure time of 9:19 a.m. and here's the eternal question. How early should you get to the airport for a domestic flight? If you Google it, the guidance is going to be 2 hours. I know people who aim for an hour or even 45 minutes. For me, I think it depends on the airport. Some take longer to navigate, or they have less predictable TSA lines. There are a lot of variables that you might want to leave some buffer for, and worst case, if you're a bit early, you can find a lounge or an empty gate to hang out at and read or work. So I aim for 90 minutes before departure. That means I need a 7:01 a.m. train from downtown, and that gets me to PDX at 7:41. Quick check to make sure the flight's on schedule. I'm actually through security at 7:48 and the gate is only a couple minutes away. So now I have all kinds of time to chill out. I head to the gate around the scheduled boarding time. It's a packed flight, and then the gate agent gets on the intercom to let us know we'll be leaving a bit late because of heavy air traffic into Seattle. I'm guessing lots of private flights coming in for the World Cup match, but who knows? We're well past the scheduled boarding time, and at this point, I think we're about 20 minutes behind. I'm seated at 9:06, we get out of the gate late, then we're held on the tarmac for a bit, and finally we're wheels up at 9:50 a.m., definitely off schedule. The good news is, this is a crazy short flight, and we're wheels down at 10:17, that's 27 minutes airborne, which is probably what people are thinking about when they tell me how much time they save flying to Seattle. Note that most of this process, boarding, taxiing, flying, it's kind of dead time. You can't really get any productive work done. 10 minutes after landing, we're still taxiing. Seatbelt sign goes off at 10:30 on the dot. Disembarking begins, and that's a slow process because of the way airplane interiors are designed. So I'm not actually on the tarmac until 10:42. That's 25 minutes after wheels down, which from my experience is pretty average for SeaTac. 2-minute walk to the concourse, and then I want to catch Link Light Rail to downtown Seattle. Now, in Portland, Max comes right up to the terminal, but in Seattle, they built it at the back of what's apparently the nation's largest single-roof parking structure. There's an entire walkway they built into the perimeter of the garage, and it's a long walk, so they keep reminding you that, yes, you're still going the right direction. Finally, you get to a departures board so you can figure out if you want to run or not. Every 8 minutes is, I think, pretty close to a typical headway for Line 1, so you probably don't need to run. You enter below platform level, lots of visitors waiting in line at ticket machines. You guys, you can just use Apple Pay or whatever at the reader. It's easy to skip the line. Link runs elevated between here and South Seattle, so up an escalator to the platform. It's 10:55, and then I'm on a train to Seattle at 10:58. That's 16 minutes from getting off the plane. Not bad, just not quite DC National type access. SeaTac is about 11 miles south of downtown Seattle, but the link is built for speed and mostly runs grade separated, except for the segment through the Rainier Valley and a couple other locations that still have at-grade crossings. For my downtown destination stop, I'm using Westlake since it's the location with the highest density of hotels nearby. Your destination in Seattle might be different. Mine was actually further north, but you pull into Westlake at 11:39 a.m. So from boarding light rail in downtown Portland to disembarking here at Westlake, that's 4 hours 38 minutes. So that's the baseline, and in a minute we're going to make the same trip by train in the other direction, and we'll see which is really faster. But also, travel time isn't everything, so we'll touch on some of the other differences as well. Connect on the usual apps. Also, website/newsletter is now active at nerd4cities.com. Consider subscribing. I'll have new content a few times a month, including an urbanist advice column, so send me your burning questions and or diatribes. Still on for Philly on September 28th, just waiting for ticketing to go live. And Seattle on September 15th. Ticketing is imminent for that as well, and it's actually the whole reason I made this trip up to Seattle. I've got a video in the works, a detailed exploration of what is suddenly America's busiest light rail system, and this is why I came up on Monday, July 6th. I knew Seattle was going to be insane, and we were probably going to be looking at a one-day Link ridership record. I was not disappointed. Anyway, I'll be sharing a live walkthrough of that work in progress, and tickets will open up first on my Patreon, so make sure we're connected there if you want first dibs. Okay, for our return trip, we're going to catch the Amtrak Cascades, and for that we want King Street Station, which is on the south end of downtown Seattle. Depending where you are, you can definitely walk to it, but if you take Link, it's a 5-minute ride from Westlake to International District Station. So if, for example, your train is at 8:55, you might take an 8:11 Line 2 Link from Westlake that gets you to International District at 8:16. Note that on this segment, you can take Line 1 or Line 2, so you get double the frequency. Well, unless the system is down. More on that in a future video. But that puts you at King Street at 8:20 a.m., 35 minutes before departure, honestly a bit early since there's no TSA and the Cascades out of Seattle doesn't board until 20 minutes before. But the train is on schedule, so there's plenty of time to board and get situated. I've taken Cascades hundreds of times. It rarely departs behind schedule when you're picking it up in Seattle or Portland, but that doesn't mean it stays on schedule, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, so the train starts rolling at 8:55 on the dot, as if this was Switzerland. Now, your point-to-point travel time on the train is much longer than it is flying, but you can work comfortably. I wrote basically my whole Vegas loop video on this ride. You can walk around, get refreshments in the snack car. The views are immeasurably more interesting than what you'll get on a plane. So we pull into Tacoma, which is a slightly longer dwell time because it is a bigger stop. But then we're hanging out here for several minutes, and then finally the conductor gets on the intercom and lets us know we have to hold because there's a single track section ahead and there's a delayed northbound Cascades that has to clear it first. I timed the stop at 12 minutes, but then when we get to Olympia, the conductor tells us we're 20 minutes behind schedule. We're supposed to arrive at Portland Union Station at 12:20, so we'll see how it plays out. I'd say in all the times I've taken the Cascades, it stays on schedule more often than not, but it does have single track sections, and it does have sections where it shares the alignment with slower freight trains that sometimes get priority. It would be really cool if passenger rail had its own dedicated alignment with geometry that accommodated higher speeds. It's too bad this technology hasn't made its way to the US yet. No additional delay the rest of the way. We cross the Columbia, and then the Willamette, and soon enough, we're rolling through the Pearl District into Portland's central city. And we pulled to a stop at 12:41, so 21 minutes late, which is unfortunate, but my flight ran around 20 minutes late as well, so I think we're pretty apples to apples. Remember, on the way into SeaTac, there was 13 minutes of taxiing, and it took 14 minutes to disembark and get into the airport concourse proper. On the Cascades, you pull right into a downtown station, and it took me 4 minutes to get all my stuff together and walk into the station. And then it's a 2-block walk to the nearest MAX station where you can get wherever you need to go. Trains come every 7 or 8 minutes, so if you have average luck, you'll catch the next one in 4. And then it's a 5-minute ride to where we started, Pioneer Courthouse Square. So here's the final reckoning. If we're going off pure travel time, flying saves you 11 minutes, which from my experience is a lot less than people think, since when they make that mental comparison, they think about vehicle speeds and not all the different components of the trip. And with air travel, it's a lot of extra 10 and 20-minute chunks of low quality time spent in crowded waiting areas and airplane seats, except whatever buffer time you gave yourself for ground transport and getting through security. With the Cascades, though, the vast majority of the travel time occurs in a spacious train compartment where you can get productive work done. You can go for walks without worrying about hitting turbulence. You can grab food and beverages without waiting for the flight attendants to make their rounds. Would I prefer that Seattle to Portland was on a 75-minute train instead of a 3.5-hour one? Sure, but I'll take a conventional train over flying anytime, as long as the trains aren't sold out for World Cup. So, one takeaway from today's video. Major sporting events mean major urban mobility challenges. Large-scale events like this summer's World Cup in the US put cities under real pressure. You see sharp spikes in demand, thousands of people moving at once, and traffic behaving in ways that don't match any typical day. Even a reasonably well-functioning transportation system like Seattle's can start to burst at the seams. But stresses like we've seen in summer 2026 also present an opportunity. They reveal the system's weaknesses, give you the chance to diagnose choke points, and give you new insights on how to fix them. During the tournament, TomTom's traffic index featured a dedicated football world championship dashboard that helped visualize traffic patterns around all 16 host venues. It showed where congestion built up, how quickly it peaked, and how it spread across the surrounding road network. These traffic dynamics are not unique to this event. They are recurring patterns seen at major events around the world, but congestion is just one piece of the puzzle. To actually plan for events like this, you need to understand what's driving those patterns and how different parts of the network behave together. And that's where a platform like TomTom's Move portal comes into play. Move brings together different types of traffic intelligence in one place. Historic traffic stats to understand baseline behavior, origin-destination analysis to see how people travel between airports, hotels, and venues, route monitoring to track key travel corridors over time, junction analytics to pinpoint pressure at intersections around stadiums, and area analytics to uncover any traffic insights on specific areas, such as access roads around a stadium. Altogether, you get a much clearer picture of not just where things will slow down, but where the network can handle spikes in demand, and where even greater opportunities lie. From proactively adjusting traffic flows to implementing measures like retimed signals and transit priority. So, if you want to understand what's really possible with traffic intelligence, explore TomTom's Move portal. Go to tomtom.com/CityNerd to explore the data for yourself and to check out the TomTom Move portal free for 30 days. And that's all I've got. Thanks for joining today, and thanks as always to the patrons for your direct support, which helps keep the content spigot fully turned to the on position. I appreciate the support on Nebula too. Keep the great topic suggestions coming. I'll be back with a new episode in 1 or 2 weeks, and I'll see you then.